Welcome. Marriage related questions are undoubtedly among the most frequently asked. The topics like compatibility, the Kundi Milan, the Mangli Dosh, which of course is not entertained in Krishnamurti Paddhati, the marriage timing, delay, and the quality of married life. So, all these questions fall under the broader umbrella of marriage inquiries. Let us explore some of the questions, not all, but some of the questions for this horoscope that belongs to a female. When this horoscope came to me, I think about a couple of years ago, then I noticed a few things. So let me first share those things with you. The 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 parent of this horoscope informed me that they tried to do matrimonial negotiation, but they have been consistently failing. And I asked them the reason, and obviously the typical answer was the Mangli concept, which is not entertained in Krishnamurti Paddhati. So I guess what was happening is that you see this in the Rashi chart. The Mangal has an aspect, eighth aspect on the ascendant. So I think that alone became a reason for the traditional pundit to keep on rejecting this horoscope. So that's the first thing that the parents told me. First thing I did was to check the borderline. So many of you already know about, but who are new? So you have to click on this option, the significator plus. So this gives you an idea if the ascendant or any planets are on the border of the cusp, or ascendant itself is on the border, or moon is on the border. So that check is required. So it's all okay in this check, and nothing is on the borderline. The next thing is that I looked at the Dasha. What is the current Dasha? And I realized that he is going through the Rahu and Saturn period, which will be until 2027. You can see that Rahu Saturn period is going to end in 2027. So now these two planets, Rahu and Saturn, they are malefic. And when it comes to the marriage related question, then they need some special attention. If you look at the horoscope, this is a pretty strong horoscope from the material or the career point of view. You can see that how the planets are strongly indicating the sixth house and the 10th house. So one thing I told the parents was that she is going to be away from the home, and her career is going to be extremely good. She doesn't have to be worried, or even the parents don't have to worry about the career. And the reason for this was that if you look at the Rahu signification, so you find that Rahu is very strong in terms of the material prosperity or the career. Very strong. It's obvious, right? The 10th house, 11th house, second house. It has some bad effect, but still she will be able to navigate her way when it comes to the career and the profession. Now, another thing is that why I told her that she is going to be away from the home during the Rahu period is, you see, if you look at Professor KSK's note about going away from home, going to a foreign country, or stabilizing, staying in a foreign country. Time and again, Professor has mentioned the role of Rahu. So Rahu, you should take as a significator of making people go away, staying away from their home. Just like we have significator for marriage, like Venus is the significator for marriage, Mercury is for business. Okay. Similarly, you should take a Rahu as the significator for sending a person away from the home. So Rahu has an inherent signification. And when it gets a little bit more support from the other houses, the third house and the ninth house, even if they are weak, in this case they are quite strong, but even if they are weak, the Rahu's inherent signification, the inherent power is sufficient for the person to go abroad or stay away from the home. So that was one reason that I said that Rahu Dasha is going to keep her away from the home, which of course came out to be true. And then the career-wise, if you look, you find that the Rahu and also the Jupiter, even if you look after Rahu, the Jupiter period is going to be there, right? And Jupiter is also very strong. So career-wise, she doesn't have to worry at all. And the parents also uh, were assured that they don't need to worry about it. She has a very good education, and she works in a very very powerful department, I would say, and where she has seems to have a lot of decision making power also. Now, in the paradox or the irony of life, which Professor Krishnamurti has mentioned a couple of times, is that the planet that makes the career very powerful, which are 2, 6, and 10, out of these, the 6 and 10 is good for career. But if you look at 6 and 10, so these are not good for marriage. House 2, 7, 11 indicate marriage, and the 6 and 1, 6 and 10, they indicate some problem in the marriage. So you see in his book on marriage life and children, Professor KSK has mentioned that the good signification for the career and the profession will or are likely to create issues in the married life. So, and if you look at this, the whole signification table, you will see that planets are very strong when it comes to the 6th and the 10th house. So there seems to be the first idea that should emerge in your mind is that there seems to be strong negative influence. This is the first idea, but this idea alone is not sufficient. See, when professor is saying that the 6th and 10th are good for career and bad for marriage, it doesn't mean that every successful person will have a bad married life. So let's look at some other factors also. One factor alone is not sufficient. Now take a look at the sublord of the Dasha, which is Rahu. So the sublord is Jupiter. You see, Jupiter very strongly indicates the 6th and the 10th house. Now let me explain what kind of a punch Jupiter actually has. This is not an ordinary 10 and 6. This 10 and 6 has some speciality about it. See, recently I got a few emails about putting the count at how many time a particular house has been represented in the signification table, which we are going to do. But this is a very good example to also discuss with you that why the count can be misleading. If you look at the 10th and the 6th signification of the Jupiter, you see the Jupiter is untenanted. That's the first thing. Then Jupiter is positioned in the 10th house and it is the Lord of the 6th house. So there are so many factors which are combining the 6th and the 10th house to create a more negative kind of a punch. You can't possibly just allocate one number to these houses, 10 and 6. That's the idea of what I'm trying to explain over here. Untenanted Jupiter as the sublord of the Rahu, indicating 10th and the 6th house. Okay, you can see in the horoscope how badly it is placed and how strongly it is bonding the 10th and the 6th house. So this is not a very good combination when it comes to the smooth marriage fixing or the smooth marriage negotiation and things like that. And the parents confirmed that this was the real problem for a few years, and now they were kind of worried now, and because nothing was getting materialized. So the Dashana's sublord is not very conductive. That's very clear to us. And another thing about is that, see, in the traditional Parashari astrology, the Jupiter and other benefic planets, they are always deemed to be benefic. But here you can see what Professor Krishnamurti has said, that all planets are good, all planets are bad. It depends on the kind of question or the kind of event that is being analyzed in a horoscope. Depending on that, a planet could be good or bad. Now the same Jupiter with 10 and 6 becomes very strong from the career point of view. So if our question is about the career, then we know that 3 and 5 also indicate change. So it indicates that whenever there is a change in her career or the professional life, then she is going to get a very good kind of a deal because of the 10th and 6th, which are very good houses when it comes to career and the profession. So when the question is about career and profession, then Jupiter is very favorable and positive. But when the question is about the marriage, then you see how Jupiter becomes very weak. Let's look at the Antar Dasha, that is of Saturn. If you look at the Saturn sublord, so that is Rahu, and you can see that the 6 and 10 are not a good combination over here. So Saturn and is also very powerful, it is untenanted. So Saturn is also not very promising. At this stage, we have this kind of a doubt that whether Saturn is 100% negative or 100% bad. So that will confirm with the rotated chart. But here in the cusp chart, we see that Saturn is not promising at all. It seems like that. And then the Mercury also, you can see Mercury is very bad. So even if let's say the marriage happens in the Dasha of Rahu and Saturn, then immediately after that, the Mercury Dasha, which indicate the 6 and 10, 6 and 10, both at the star lord level and at the sublord level, is not good. So now about 60-70% we are sure that this horoscope certainly has some issues when it comes to the marriage fixing. Now let's look at the Dasha chart. To get the Dasha lagna chart, you have to click on this option. So she is going through the Rahu Dasha. So let's expand the Rahu. So this is the Dasha chart. Dasha chart basically means you put the Rahu in the ascendant and then rotate the entire chart on that axis. Now, in the Dasha chart, one of the things that is important for you to remember over here is that Professor KSK has said that in the Dasha chart, the is primarily used to look at how the Antardashanath is placed from the Dashanath. Very important. And he has mentioned that if Antardasha is not cooperating, very important, if the Antardashanath is not cooperating with the Dashanath in the Dasha Lagna chart, then it creates negative influences. Another thing you have to notice or remember is that when you are looking at the Dashanath, then you must consider all the three, including the sublord. But when you are looking at the Antardashanath, for example, the Antardashanath is Saturn. So for Saturn, we will not look at the sublord level. We will only consider the Saturn up to the star lord level and just find out if the Antardashanath is cooperating with the Dashanath or not. So why in Dashanath you have to look at the sublord also? Because if you look at the Dashanath Rahu, there could be other planets also. Let's say the Rahu is with Jupiter or Mercury. In that case, the Dasha will be rotated and will remain same for Rahu and the Jupiter and the Mercury. The only differentiator will be the sublord that might change. So remember this, for the Dasha Lord, make use of the sublord also. If you look at Rahu, we discussed that Rahu is already a very natural karak in Krishnamurti Paddhati for making someone going away from the home. So here also, if you see, just the ninth house is there. So that indicate that this is alone. This is sufficient because in the Kaspa chart, Rahu is already strongly indicating, and in the Dasha chart, one slight push, and then you are sure yes, this is going to happen. So let's now look at the marriage from the marriage point of view. If you look from the marriage point of view, you will see that Rahu does indicate some positivity. You see here it is indicating the 7th house and the 11th house. But at the same time, it is also indicating the 6th house and the 10th house. So there is no drastically positive result from the Rahu in the Dasha chart. And then if you look at the Saturn will just consider. So Saturn is not cooperating with the Dasha Lord when it comes to the marriage. Because 1 and 6 combination together is not good for the marriage. So now we know that the Rahu and Saturn Dasha is not very conductive. So let's make a note of this. So we put a note over here that the Dasha Lagna is also not very promising, and there is nothing extraordinary that could possibly give some drastic rays of hope. So, but is this alone? Is this all alone sufficient? I would say no. I created a few videos on the multi-prong approach, which means that you should have at least 4 or 5 different kind of methods to validate the same result. Just like in the medical science they run multiple tests, and this is how they validate and conclude for a result. Same approach we have to take over here. So now I'm going to discuss about something that many of you might not be knowing at all. And that is that Professor Krishnamurti has outlined several factors that may contribute to the delay or the denial in marriage. Obviously, in the online classes, and all you get to see is very superficial stuff, which is not sufficient. You will be surprised that professor has consistently made use of the Chandra Kundi. I'm talking about not the moon rotated in the Kaspa chart. I'm talking about the Parashar Kundli, where the things are also seen from the moon. There are several articles. At one point, of course, the Professor Krishnamurti started discouraging the moon kundali, but I thought that for many years he had been using the moon kundali successfully, so there has to be some substance. And in many of his articles, he has made use of the moon kundali. So it is a good idea to make use of the moon kundali. I will also show you what he has mentioned and how we can make use of it. Another thing that he has mentioned is the Punarfu. Many of you might be aware of this. Punarfu Yoga. There are not many yogas in Krishnamurti Paddhati. Only a few that Professor has mentioned, and one is this Punarfu. Now, this is a Sanskrit word, and Punarfu, Punarfu comes from the word, I guess, Puna. Puna means the repeated attempt. So, the Punarfu Yoga is when Saturn is in the star of Moon. And then Saturn should be in the fifth house, and Saturn is in fifth house. So then it creates a Punarfu Yoga, which means that one will have to go in for repeated kind of matrimonial negotiation, and there are going to be failure. There are going to be dejection. There is going to be a lot of depression. So that's what the Punarfu Yoga is. And why he has mentioned Saturn should be in the fifth is that when Saturn is here in the fifth house, so then Saturn's third aspect is on the seventh house, which is the house of marriage. Then the Saturn's seventh aspect is on the 11th house, which is the house of calm or the fulfillment of desire. And then the Saturn's 10th aspect is on the second house, which is the house of Kutum or the family. So basically 2, 7, 11, which indicate the marriage in Krishnamurti Paddhati, they come under the sharp focus of the Saturn. But let me tell you, I have not seen this particular yoga working. This was initially introduced in the KP Hurri, where it works. In KP Hurri, this works. But in the birth chart, I have not seen this working very effectively. And then there are some other, I would say, rules that Professor has mentioned about the delay or the denial in marriage. Many of them haven't consistently held true. So I dropped all those. I did experiment with those, and I dropped all those. Why I mentioned Punarfu is that there is even some kind of, I think, couple of publications also on the Punarfu yoga. But those books are also not very convincing, and I have not seen this Punarfu yoga working. So, but I mentioned this that since Professor has mentioned many times, so it's good to know about this, the Punarfu yoga. So now let's look about the Parashari stuff that Professor has mentioned. For this also, what we will do is that we will look at the Dasha rotation, but in the Rashi chart, and we will also look at the seventh house. So first we have to now look at the moon chart. Okay, the moon chart. But make sure that now we are using the Parashari principle, so we have to focus only on this. So that's why when we introduce this option, I mentioned that you will not find this option anywhere on the internet where the rotation is given from the cusp as well as from the Parashari point of view. Now in this chart, this is where we have to focus. The rule is very simple. If the seventh lord in the Chandra Kundali, okay, this is the Chandra Kundali. If the seventh lord is aspected by the Saturn, which is a planet of delay, seventh lord or the seventh house, then there is going to be some delay. And if the seventh house has some bad affliction, Rahu, bad planets, Mars, Saturn, and all that, then married life is also becomes problematic. So it is from here the first rule, the Saturn, if you look at Saturn, then Saturn is aspecting the seventh house, 10th aspect, right? And but the seventh lord, which is Venus, is not in this aspect. But at least one rule is applicable, that Saturn is aspecting the seventh house. And let's look at this Rahu, this chart also. So we are looking at this only. So in the Rahu chart, let's look at if Mercury is in any bad, because the seventh house is here from the Rahu Mahadasha perspective, is ruled by Mercury. And so let's take a look at if Rahu or Saturn anywhere has anything to do with the seventh house. So you will find that, or the seventh lord. So you will find that in this chart, the Rahu and Saturn, they are not, they don't have any negative influence on the seventh lord. But if you look at the seventh lord itself, then you find that it gets placed in the 12th, from the seventh house. So combining both the Chandra Kundali and this the particular position of the Mercury in the Dasha chart or from the Parashari system, we find that the Parashari rules are also not very positive. So let's now add this to our list. So we have put a note that Parashari stuff is also not encouraging. So in last 2 or 3 or 4 different angles, we find that things are not looking very promising. Now, one of the things that I have started delving into, which I will share with you, but I'm not sure about this. But I thought that I'll just show you that one thing what I am also focusing on is that note the Lord of 2, 7, 11 in the cusp chart. Okay. So if you look at the second house is Mars and seventh is also Mars. So the sublord is Rahu. Let me note the sublord of Lord of, okay, in CC. So Mars is the for second cusp and the seventh cusp. Mars is the Lord. So what, and the Mars sublord is Rahu. Okay. So 2 and 7 equals to Rahu. And then the 11th, which is ruled by Mercury. So the Mercury's sublord is Jupiter. Mercury, okay, Jupiter. So the grouping of the sublord is Rahu, and Jupiter. I hope this is clear to you. This is very simple. Let me repeat that. Note the sublord of the 2, 7, 11. This is, I'm not talking about the cuspal sublord, okay? Note the sublord of Lord of 2, 7 and 11. Don't get confused over here. I don't make a use of cuspal sublord at all. They are very misleading and I don't rely on them. So note the sublord of Lord of 2, 7, 11 in the cusp chart, this chart. So this is what we found, Rahu and Jupiter. Now this combination, you will not find this combination appearing in 1 to 249, the list of sign lord, star lord and the sublord. Okay, so you will not find this combination, this combo has no place. In KPs 1 to 249. Okay, all these three has to be there. You and don't make use of Rahu representing some other planet. Whatever has come as the sublord, just take it as it is and look at the combo. If that combo doesn't appear in 2711, then this is also one of the negative yoga. And like I mentioned, that I'm not sure about this. I just started delving into it, and I thought I'll share this with you so that you guys can also experiment and share some of your results. So this combination is also not working. The KP standard rules we saw are not working. The lagna is also not very promising. The Parashari is also not very promising. So now you can conclude your result. Okay, that what is going to happen to this person's marriage fixing and the married life and things like that. So I did suggested them some remedy. Obviously, you know that apart from the seva donation, I don't recommend anything else. That's the only thing that works. So since the Rahu Saturn period is active, so I suggested them some donation regarding Rahu and Saturn. So, but the girl rejected and they said they don't believe in this donation. So then the father was more worried. So they said that can he do this donation on her behalf? Now this is not something that I would recommend. It is like, you know, a person who is suffering from some disease, and if this person's father says, "Oh, can I take medicine on this person's behalf?" That's illogical. Okay. So anyway, I think that any kind of puja is good. So I said, yeah, go ahead. But I was not very happy about this thing. I don't think that helped. They kept on getting some matrimonial proposals, but so far nothing has worked out. And hopefully, I know this family very well, and I pray that sometimes you have to pray that your analysis or your prediction should go wrong. Now, one of the help that I need from you guys is that when you see a very negative result in the horoscope of someone you like, maybe a relative or a friend, you know, or somebody who is very close to you. So how do you convey this to them? Because I find myself very weak when I find these so much of negative results pointing to a certain outcome. Then I'm unable to figure it out that how to convey this. So if you can share some of your ideas, that will be helpful for me. So that's all in this video. Hope you enjoyed watching it. Thanks for watching.